The accusation. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Alliance fell silent as the Tyleni ambassador, Trellnox, rose from his hovering platform. His translucent tentacles glowed with bioluminescent indignation as he addressed the assembly of 217 species. Earth's ambassador, Eliza Chen, maintained perfect composure despite knowing what was coming. Esteemed representatives of civilized space, Trellnox began, his translator converting sibilant clicks into the standard galactic tongue. We stand at a precipice. For 3 centuries, our alliance has maintained peace through understanding, cooperation, and adherence to our sacred conventions of warfare. Chen resisted, rolling her eyes. The Tyleni had a flair for the dramatic, something humanity had learned during their relatively brief 50 years as junior members of the alliance. Today, I bring before this chamber evidence of atrocities that cannot be ignored. Atrocities perpetrated by the newest members of our community, the humans of Earth. The chamber erupted in murmurs, and the equivalent of gasps from species whose biology didn't permit conventional respiratory shock. Holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, showing images of devastation on Proxima Centauri IV, a disputed mining colony at the edge of human space. These images show the aftermath of what humans euphemistically call pacification, continued Trellnox. 3,000 Dravidi colonists, neutralized with biological agents that target their specific neurological pathways, a clear violation of the 7th Convention of Civilized Warfare. Ambassador Chen's face remained impassive. Internally, her neural implant was already sending encrypted messages back to Earth Command. They've made their move. Operation Sunlight is now in effect. The highest-ranking member of the Alliance, Grand Arbiter Zolan of the Mikuri Federation, turned his compound eyes toward the human delegation. Ambassador Chen, these are serious allegations. Do the representatives of Earth wish to respond? Chen stood, her tailored blue suit a stark contrast to the organic and fluid garments worn by most Alliance species. She was a solitary figure of angles and rigidity among a sea of tentacles, wings, and fluid appendages. Grand Arbiter, esteemed colleagues, she began, her voice calm and measured. The human delegation thanks Ambassador Trellnox for bringing these concerns to the Council. Earth takes all allegations of misconduct with the utmost seriousness. A surprised murmur spread through the chamber. They had expected denials, not this measured response. We request 48 standard hours to investigate these claims and provide a comprehensive response to the Council. The Grand Arbiter's mandibles clicked in what passed for a Mikuri expression of surprise. Granted, Ambassador Chen. This Council will reconvene in 48 hours. As Chen left the chamber, her second-in-command, Marcus Reeves, fell into step beside her. They've overplayed their hand, he muttered once they were in the secure confines of the Earth Embassy shuttlecraft. They've done exactly what we expected, Chen replied, activating the quantum scrambler that would prevent any eavesdropping. Contact General Takeda. Tell him it's time to reveal what Project Panopticon has gathered. Back on Earth, in the underground complex beneath the Mariana Trench, General Hiroshi Takeda received the message and smiled grimly. For 15 years, human intelligence had been quietly gathering information on every species in the Alliance, particularly those who viewed Earth's rapid technological advancement with alarm. Begin decryption of the Tyleni diplomatic archives, he ordered. Prioritize communications between their high command and the Dravidi separatists. The AI systems of Earth intelligence went to work, processing petabytes of intercepted communications that human quantum computing had been quietly decoding for years. Meanwhile, in the private quarters of the Tyleni ambassador, Trellnox was receiving congratulations from his co-conspirators via secure channel. The humans responded exactly as predicted, said Dravkor, military commander of the Dravidi. Their request for time indicates they are scrambling to cover their actions. Indeed, replied Trellnox. By the time they formulate a response, the resolution for sanctions will already have the support of 2/3 of the Council. Human expansion will be contained, their military capabilities limited under Alliance supervision. And their technology? Asked the third figure on the channel, a shadowy form identified only as emissary. Will be subject to inspection and restricted development under the terms of the sanctions, Trellnox assured. Their quantum computing and faster-than-light innovations will become available to all Alliance members as reparations. What none of them knew was that every word was being recorded by microscopic drones developed by Earth's Defense Intelligence Agency, drones modeled after Earth's dust mites, considered too primitive to register on Alliance bioscanners. In her quarters, Ambassador Chen reviewed the real history of the Proxima Centauri IV incident. 3 months ago, Earth had received intelligence that the Dravidi colonists were actually military personnel disguised as civilians. Their true mission: to establish a weapons platform capable of launching planet-killer missiles at Earth's colonies. The biological weapons Earth had deployed were in fact non-lethal neurostunners that temporarily paralyzed the Dravidi, allowing Earth forces to apprehend them without casualties. The neutralized Dravidi were all alive, in custody, and had confessed to their true mission under conditions that adhered strictly to Alliance conventions on treatment of prisoners. "We have confirmation, Ambassador," her secure terminal announced. Project Panopticon has verified a conspiracy between the Xylene, Dravidi High Command, and 7 other Alliance species. Their goal is to use these false accusations to force Earth to surrender its technological advantages and halt its expansion. Chen nodded. And the emissary? Identified with 99.7% certainty as Supreme Commander Zolthair of the Vishnu Collective. This was significant. The Vishnu Collective had presented themselves as Earth's strongest allies in the Alliance. This betrayal confirmed humanity's deepest suspicions about galactic politics. "Prepare the evidence for presentation," Chen ordered, "and alert the fleet. Tell them to move to defensive posture Delta, but no obvious preparations. We don't want to tip our hand." Throughout human space, warships quietly powered up shields, loaded weapon systems, and calculated jump coordinates, all while maintaining normal communications and flight patterns. Unlike the Alliance species, who believed warfare should be conducted according to agreed-upon rules with appropriate declarations and formalities, humans had never forgotten that sometimes survival required surprise. As the 48-hour deadline approached, Chen received one final report that brought a cold smile to her face. "Perfect," she said. "Let's give our friends in the Alliance a lesson in human justice." The stage was set. The accusers had no idea that in attempting to cage humanity, they had backed a predator into a corner, one that had been observing their every move and was prepared not just to defend itself, but to reshape the very nature of galactic diplomacy. The revelation. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Alliance hummed with anticipation as the 48-hour deadline expired. Ambassador Eliza Chen entered flanked by her delegation, each carrying what appeared to be antiquated physical folders, a human eccentricity that amused many of the technologically advanced species present. Grand Orator Zolan's voice echoed through the chamber. "The Council recognizes Earth's delegation. Ambassador Chen, you may present your response to the allegations." Chen approached the central platform, her posture relaxed yet commanding. "Esteemed members of the Alliance, I thank you for your patience. Earth has investigated the allegations thoroughly and is prepared to respond." The Xylene ambassador's tentacles rippled with anticipation. Several other species believed to be part of the conspiracy shifted in what humans recognized as their equivalent of smug satisfaction. Rather than immediately addressing the accusations against Earth, Chen continued, "I would first like to submit evidence regarding the incident at Proxima Centauri IV." With a gesture, she activated the chamber's holographic systems. The image that appeared showed not a massacre, but a military operation. Dravidi colonists were shown unloading weapons platforms and assembling what was clearly a planetary defense shield, one designed not to protect the colony, but to hide it from orbital detection. These are unaltered surveillance recordings from Proxima Centauri IV, taken 3 standard months ago, Chen explained. As you can see, these are not civilian colonists, but military personnel of the Dravidi Special Forces. The chamber erupted in confusion. The Dravidi ambassador leaped up, his furred body bristling. This is fabrication. Propaganda. Chen smiled. The Alliance has verification protocols for evidence submitted to this council. I invite any and all independent verification of these recordings. She paused, letting the implications sink in. Furthermore, I would like to submit additional evidence that may provide context for today's proceedings. With another gesture, she changed the holographic display. Now it showed the private meeting between Trellnox, Dravkor, and the shadowy emissary. The humans responded exactly as predicted, said Dravkor's recorded voice. Their request for time indicates they are scrambling to cover their actions. The recording continued, revealing the entire conspiracy to use false accusations to strip Earth of its technological advantages. The chamber descended into chaos. Trellnox's tentacles had gone from their normal blue bioluminescence to a pale white, a sign of extreme distress in Tsilini physiology. This is an outrage, he finally managed. The humans have violated the sovereign privacy of diplomatic communications. This itself is a crime under Alliance law. Chen waited for the uproar to subside before responding. Interesting that Ambassador Trellnox does not deny the content of these recordings, merely how they were obtained. She turned to address the entire assembly. Members of the Alliance, Earth stands accused of war crimes. But what constitutes a greater crime? The non-lethal neutralization of disguised enemy combatants preparing to attack civilian targets, or a conspiracy by senior members of this alliance to falsely accuse a junior member in order to steal their technology and restrict their development. The Grand Arbiter, clearly disturbed by the revelations, raised his limbs for silence. Ambassador Chen, while these recordings are disturbing, the method of their acquisition was in full compliance with Alliance intelligence protocols. Chen interrupted, producing a document from one of the folders. Section 47, Paragraph 9 of the Alliance Charter permits covert surveillance when a member species has reasonable cause to suspect actions that threaten their sovereignty or security. She handed the document to one of the Arbiter's assistants. Earth filed the appropriate notification with the Intelligence Oversight Committee 15 standard years ago. The fact that this notification was conveniently misfollowed by the committee, which, I note, has been chaired by a Tsilini representative for the past 2 decades, is itself worthy of investigation. Throughout the chamber, representatives of species not involved in the conspiracy began to murmur among themselves. The political calculations were shifting rapidly. But let us move beyond legal technicalities, Chen continued. Earth would like to submit one final piece of evidence. The holographic display changed again, this time showing multiple scenes from across Alliance space. A Tsilini fleet bombarding an undefended Melosian colony, Dravidi forces using chemical weapons prohibited by Alliance conventions against the insectoid threats, and most damning of all, the Vishnu Collective, Earth's supposed allies, conducting genetic experiments on captured humans. For 50 years, humanity has observed the other species of this alliance. Chen's voice had taken on a harder edge. We joined in good faith, believing in the principles of cooperation and mutual respect that this body claims to uphold. Instead, we have documented over 300 violations of Alliance conventions by the very species who now accuse us. She gestured, and the displays expanded to surround the entire chamber, immersing the representatives in evidence of their own species' atrocities. We have watched as you wage wars under the guise of peace, commit genocide while preaching tolerance, and use this alliance not as a forum for cooperation, but as a tool for imperial ambitions. The Vishnu Collective's representative, a being of seemingly pure energy contained within a humanoid form, flared brightly in anger. These accusations are intolerable. The Collective demands. The Collective demands nothing. Chen cut him off. Supreme Commander Zolthair, or should I call you emissary? The energy being's form flickered in what humans had learned to recognize as shock. Yes, we know who you are. And we know about the biological weapons facility on Vishnu Prime, where you've been developing human-specific pathogens. We know about the fleet you've been assembling in the Dark Sector, in violation of Treaty of Rigel. Chen turned back to address the entire chamber. Humanity did not come to this alliance naively. We came cautiously, knowing the history of our own species and suspecting that others might not be so different. We came prepared. With a final gesture, she deactivated the holographic displays. The evidence I have presented today is being simultaneously broadcast on all Alliance communication channels and to every member world. The full, unredacted files are available for public access. There will be no quiet burying of these revelations. The chamber had fallen completely silent. Even the Grand Arbiter seemed at a loss for words. Earth rejects the accusations against it and formally charges the governments of Silini, Dravidi, and the Vishnu Collective with conspiracy against an alliance member, attempted theft of proprietary technology, and multiple violations of the conventions of civilized warfare. Ambassador Chen gathered her folders and prepared to leave the platform. We await your response. But be aware, humanity's patience has limits. As she returned to her delegation, a single message was transmitted to Earth Command. The revelation is complete. Prepare for the reckoning. Throughout human space, military vessels that had been on defensive posture Delta now quietly transitioned to offensive posture Omega. Stealth satellites deployed years ago around key Alliance worlds activated their targeting systems. And deep within Earth's Mariana Trench facility, General Takeda gave the order to activate the quantum displacement grid, humanity's ultimate insurance policy. The accused had thought they were dealing with an upstart species that could be easily controlled. They were about to discover just how mistaken they had been. The reckoning. 3 days after Ambassador Chen's revelations, the Galactic Alliance remained in turmoil. Emergency sessions had been called and adjourned in disarray. Public unrest had erupted on dozens of worlds as ordinary citizens confronted their governments with evidence of atrocities committed in their name. The Xylene homeworld faced massive protests. The Dravidi military command had fractured, with junior officers staging coups against superiors implicated in the conspiracy. And the Vishnu Collective, perhaps most significantly, had gone completely silent. Their communication networks shut down, their representatives recalled from all Alliance outposts. In the Earth Embassy on New Geneva Station, Ambassador Chen received the latest intelligence briefing from General Takeda via quantum-encrypted channel. The Vishnu Collective is mobilizing their fleet, Takeda reported, his holographic image hovering above Chen's desk. Long-range sensors detect approximately 300 capital ships moving toward the Dark Sector rendezvous point. Chen nodded, unsurprised. And our assets. In position and undetected. The quantum displacement grid is fully operational. Let's hope we don't need to use it, Chen said, though both knew this was likely wishful thinking. What about the Alliance response? Fragmented. 17 species have formally disavowed the conspiracy and expressed support for Earth. 32 remain neutral. The rest are either part of the conspiracy or too afraid of the major powers to take a stand. And the Grand Arbiter? Caught between factions, the Mikhari Federation faces internal division over how to respond. Chen considered this information. It's time for the final phase. Arrange an emergency session of the full Alliance. I'll deliver our ultimatum personally. 24 hours later, the Grand Chamber was filled to capacity. Unlike the ordered proceedings of normal sessions, this one had the atmosphere of barely contained chaos. Species that had been allies for centuries now viewed each other with suspicion. The revelations of widespread violations of Alliance conventions had shattered centuries of diplomatic pretense. When Ambassador Chen entered, a hush fell over the chamber. She was accompanied not by her usual diplomatic staff, but by a single human in a simple black uniform with no insignia or rank markings. Admiral Helena Vasquez, commander of Earth's Void Fleet, though this identity was not announced. Grand Arbiter Zolan, looking significantly more haggard than a few days prior, called the session to order. The Alliance recognizes Earth's ambassador Chen, who has requested this emergency session. Chen approached the central platform, her expression solemn. Esteemed representatives, I come before you today not to further inflame the current crisis, but to offer a path forward. She paused, surveying the chamber. However, before I outline Earth's proposal, I must address the immediate security concerns facing not just humanity, but this entire alliance. With a gesture, she activated the holographic display. It showed the movement of the Vishnu Collective's fleet. As you can see, a significant military force is currently mobilizing in what we believe is preparation for an attack on human worlds. Such an action would trigger a full military response from Earth, a response we would prefer to avoid. The representative of the Arcturus Confederation, a species of crystalline beings known for their neutrality, chimed in. Ambassador, if I may, is Earth requesting Alliance intervention to prevent this conflict? Chen smiled. No, Representative. Earth is quite capable of defending itself. I am merely explaining the situation to provide context for what comes next. With another gesture, she changed the display to show what appeared to be a simple diagram, a web of intersecting lines connecting various points in space. This is the quantum displacement grid, a defensive system that Earth has been developing and deploying for the past 15 years. Murmurs spread through the chamber as technical experts among various delegations began to comprehend what they were seeing. For those unfamiliar with the technology, the quantum displacement grid allows for the instantaneous reorganization of matter on a cosmic scale. In practical terms, it means that Earth can, with the activation of a single command, relocate any object in space to any other location within the grid's influence. The implications dawned slowly on the assembly, expressions of disbelief and horror spreading among the representatives. To demonstrate, Chen continued, her voice level, we will now relocate a small, uninhabited moon in a remote system. She nodded to Admiral Vasquez, who spoke quietly into her wrist communicator. On the holographic display, a new image appeared, a real-time feed of a barren moon orbiting a gas giant. As the assembly watched, the moon shimmered briefly and then vanished, reappearing seconds later in a completely different orbit. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. This is impossible. It violates the laws of physics as we understand them. Such power, it cannot be allowed. Chen waited for the initial shock to subside. The grid currently extends throughout Alliance space and approximately 30% of the unexplored regions beyond. It can target objects as small as a personal spacecraft or as large as a small planet. She let that sink in before continuing. All Vishnu Collective warships are currently targeted by the grid. Should they take hostile action against any human world or vessel, they will be instantaneously relocated to the heart of the Cygnus X1 black hole. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Humanity did not develop this technology out of imperial ambition or desire for conquest. We built it because from the moment we joined this alliance, we sensed the predatory nature behind the diplomatic smiles. We built it because history, our own and now, we know, the alliances, taught us that peace is not maintained through conventions and treaties alone. Chen's voice hardened. It is maintained through strength and the absolute certainty that aggression will be met with overwhelming force. The Xylene ambassador, considerably subdued from his previous appearances, spoke up. You threaten the entire alliance with this weapon of mass destruction. How is this different from the very atrocities you accused others of? The difference, Ambassador Trellnox, is that we have not used it. We reveal it now not as a threat, but as an explanation of the new reality. The old order of the Alliance, where powerful species could prey upon the weak, where conventions were ignored when convenient, where technology was hoarded or stolen rather than shared. That order is now over. Chen gestured to Admiral Vasquez, who stepped forward and placed a data crystal on the platform. It projected a document into the air, a new treaty. Earth proposes the reformation of the Galactic Alliance under these terms. Key provisions include truly independent oversight of military forces, transparent sharing of beneficial technologies, actual enforcement of the conventions of civilized warfare, and most importantly, the recognition that all sentient species, regardless of their technological development or military power, have equal rights to existence and self-determination. She looked around the chamber. Those who sign will enjoy Earth's protection and partnership. Those who refuse are free to depart Alliance space, though I would remind you that the quantum displacement grid will remain operational. Grand Arbiter Zolan, visibly struggling to maintain composure, responded. Ambassador Chen, what you propose is revolutionary. It would fundamentally alter power structures that have existed for centuries. Yes, Chen agreed simply. That is precisely the point. The Arcturus representative's crystalline form shimmered thoughtfully. Earth has demonstrated power beyond anything we believed possible, yet you do not demand subjugation or surrender. You ask for justice. Humanity has fought its own bloody history to learn that true power lies not in domination, but in creating systems where domination is unnecessary, Chen replied. We reached the stars not by conquering each other, but by finally learning to work together. We offer the Alliance the benefit of our hard-won wisdom. And if we refuse, asked a voice from the back, the representative of the Draconis Empire, one of the oldest and most traditionalist Alliance members. Chen smiled. Then nothing happens immediately. Earth will protect itself and those who ally with us. The rest of you may continue as before, though without the ability to prey upon the weak or wage hidden wars. The quantum displacement grid will ensure that major acts of aggression become logistically impossible. She returned to her seat beside Admiral Vasquez. You have one standard week to consider Earth's proposal. We look forward to building a more just alliance together. As the chamber dissolved into intense debate, Chen and Vasquez departed. In the privacy of their shuttle, Vasquez finally spoke. Do you think they'll accept? Chen looked out at the stars. Some will, out of fear, others out of genuine desire for change. The rest will scheme and plot. It's in their nature. But the balance of power has shifted irrevocably. And the quantum displacement grid? Vasquez asked. Will we really use it? Chen turned to her old friend with a slight smile. The most effective weapons are those you never have to fire, Helena. The grid works perfectly as demonstrated, for small objects in controlled conditions. Scaling it up to relocate capital ships or planets, we're decades away from that capability, if it's possible at all. Vasquez's eyes widened. You bluffed the entire Alliance. I showed them what humanity is capable of, both technologically and morally. The demonstration was real. The implied threat was diplomatic creativity. And if the Vishnu fleet attacks anyway, then we fight them the old-fashioned way, Chen said grimly. Our conventional forces are more than a match for theirs. We've been preparing for this possibility since first contact. As their shuttle docked with the Earth flagship Indomitable, Chen received a priority message from Earth Command. The Vishnu collective fleet had halted its advance and was dispersing. 17 more Alliance species had already indicated their willingness to sign the new treaty. It begins, Chen said softly. 1 week later, 189 of the 217 Alliance species signed the Treaty of New Geneva, creating a reformed galactic alliance based on genuine equality and mutual protection. Human diplomatic and military advisors were requested on dozens of worlds. The Vishnu Collective, after internal revolution overthrew Supreme Commander Zolthair, joined as well. In the end, only 8 species refused, including the Tyleni, who retreated to their home systems in isolation. In her private journal that night, Ambassador Eliza Chen wrote words that would eventually be inscribed on monuments throughout human space. They accused us of atrocities, never imagining we had witnessed their own. They tried to cage us, not understanding that humanity's greatest strength is not our technology or our weapons, but our capacity for both righteous fury and profound mercy. Today we have shown the stars that humans do not start wars. We end them, and in ending them, we create the possibility for a peace more just than what came before. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy, bought with vigilance and sealed with resolve. The accusers had never expected justice to be humanity's ultimate weapon. They had never imagined that their greatest crime was underestimating Earth.